So you want to live stream an interview on Mac software? Well, then you are in the right place because Ecamm Live, my favorite Mac streaming software, just released a brand new feature called Ecamm Interview. Now, Ecamm Interview is a native integration for bringing guests into your show, whether we're talking a live stream or recorded video. No third-party software needed. Yay! And yes, it is high quality, broadcast quality, baby. And it is super easy for both you and your guests to use. So in today's video, I am going to give you a full demo of how to use Ecamm Interview and everything you need to know around that. Are you ready to dig in? Let's do it. With Ecamm Interview, you'll be able to easily bring in up to 4 guests into your recorded video or live stream production. Now, while this is a Mac software, people don't need to be on a Mac to come in as guests. They can be on a Mac, they can be on a PC, they can be on their phone, for instance. And the beautiful thing is it's so super simple for the guests to join. They don't need to know anything about tech or have a proper tech setup even. But from your end, you'll actually be able to individually control each guest's video and audio so that you can be confident in your full production. First, you need to know this. At the time of this video release, this feature is in beta, meaning betas are for testing. They do have bugs. That is part of the beta process. And if you do encounter bugs and you decide to use it, you should report those to Ecamm inside of the beta Facebook group that's linked to it in this description. But if you are not comfortable with the potential of bugs in your production, do not use the beta. You have to be willing to put up with some things going wrong. So if that's not comfortable for you, wait for the public release. But at the same time, I have discovered that Ecamm betas tend to be pretty solid. I've never encountered a showstopper bug. So I don't know, I just made up that term. By the way, if you are new around here, please do type new in the comments. And if you are new, then hi, you don't know me. I'm Laria Petrucci. I'm from Live Streaming Pros, where I help you create professional live video that's uniquely you. And I would love to meet you in the comments. All right, let's get into the Ecamm Interview demo. Now, if you've never seen Ecamm before, if you are looking for training on how to set it up from scratch, I have that link in the description, as well as a free trial for you to get started with. But let's dig into specifically the interview feature. This is Ecamm Live, and all you need to know to get started with Interview is to click this button right here that looks like 2 people, and that will pop open another window, the interview window, and it will be off by default. So go ahead and toggle this to the on switch, and voila, you'll start to see the interface. If you have multiple cameras connected, then you'll be able to choose which camera they see by this drop-down box, and you can adjust your name just by clicking it here. In order to get your guests the link to join, and that's all they need is a single link, and I'll show you the interface. All you do is click copy link at the bottom of this window. Now, this little refresh button is if you need a new link. Otherwise, your link stays the same every time you use Interview.
The first thing I'm going to do is click the link that came from the person inviting me into Ecamm, and that is going to take me to this window right here. And then from here, I'm going to select my main camera, and I'm using vMix, so I'm going to select vMix Video. But if you have a web camera, Elgato HD60S Plus, an Elgato Camlink 4K, a Logitech C920, any of those, you would select them from this menu right here. So I'm going to select vMix, and then make sure you also select your microphone. And you can tell if you've got the right microphone if you see this audio meter running when you click it. And then you're going to type your name in here. My name is David Foster. Oops, I can spell my own name. And then I'm going to click on the join button. And now you can see my picture is in here. Now I'm sharing my desktop, but if I switch really quick to my camera, you can see me right here. I'm down in the window. Well, you can't see that because I'm on my camera, but I'll cut back. Anyway, trust me, I was there. You have the ability to mute yourself right here if you don't want to be on with your guest. And then you also have light mode and dark mode down here in the right. I prefer dark mode, of course, so I'm going to turn on dark mode and I will leave it that way. And it does make the buttons easier to see. So there you go. Now what you do is you just sit here and wait for the host. And if you do have any issues, you want to change your microphone or something, you plug something different in, you want to change your video, just click on the gear icon there and then you can choose the camera and microphone that you want to use. So right now you'll see that Luria has me on screen and it says that I am in the green room. You are not in the show. The host and audience cannot see or hear you. Now all she has to do is click a button and she brings me into the show, and it's going to let me know as soon as she does that. Okay, now it shows that I am on the air and I'm in the broadcast. So you'll always, if you don't see on air, if you see on air, that means you are on camera. So be camera ready. Be ready for that.
When a guest joins, you will see their call. You will only get a single ring. It's not going to annoy you. And then you can either choose to accept or decline. So now that I have all of my guests in place and I have 2 guests, but 3 cameras. Dr. Elo is in here twice, coming in from his mobile device. They are going to be in the green room, meaning they're not in the live production. So if I'm live, nobody can hear them, including me. However, they can hear me. So we need to add them to the production. There are 2 ways to add them to production. One is ad hoc. It's kind of controlling the entire production from this interview window. The second way to do this is what I would prefer, and that is using the placeholder feature. And I will show that to you in a second, but first let's take a look at the ad hoc placement. So if I want Dr. Elo to be full screen, then I would just add him via this solo button. And then I can say, welcome to the show, Dr. Elo.
Hey, thank you very much for having me.
Now, Dr. Elo is coming in through his phone on this particular camera, and I'm going to have a conversation with him right now. So I'm going to add him to my right. So Dr. Elo, what did you think of the mobile experience?
Super simple, really easy. Yeah, and you have an opportunity to choose dark or light. So it's pretty awesome.
Awesome. Now, if I want to add my other guests, Kathleen is coming in through her capture card. So I want to get her in the conversation as well. Kathleen, hi.
Hello.
Now I can move people around as well. Look at this. We're just going to be like, whoop, whoop, swap positions, change it up. Get the real Dr. Elo in here. And now we've got 4 people. Look, oh, there's so much Dr. Elo going on right now. So now we can have a full conversation, and this is ad hoc style. I literally can control the entire production straight from this Ecamm interview window. However, I really prefer a higher level of production. We teach you here how to create professional live streaming, and part of that is with your visuals and the graphics that go along with it. So the way I use Ecamm interview is by using placeholders. This gives me a lot more professional, full control over my entire production because I love to use these frames and I want to have some side-by-sides with their names popping up, right? So we've got a lot of adjustments to make here to make this work. So let's get down to business. So we've got placeholders for 1, 2, and 3 guests. So we're going to come back into the interview window and we're going to get these guys assigned to their positions. And this will allow me to control each individual scene that I have set up, right? I have different setups for different situations and conversations that are going to happen throughout. So what we're going to do is assign guest 1 to Dr. Elo. Boom. Hi. And now we're going to assign Kathleen into the guest 2 placeholder. And then we're going to assign Dr. Elo, number 2, into the guest 3 placeholder. And by the way, you'll see here that we have variety of different production levels coming in, right? We've got the mobile phone, we've got capture cards. So your guests are gonna look very different, and I have an entirely different video on best practices for interviews, helping you understand how to get the most out of the Ecamm interview function for your guests so that you can make them look as spectacular as possible and make sure that your entire production is more professional. So link is in the description for that. So now, because I've assigned Dr. Elo to the guest one placeholder, now my other side-by-side frame that I'm using here is accurate. So every time I switch between the 4 people and then this side by side, because he's in guest 1, because I've added guest 1 to the production, right? So I can remove him and then I can add this placeholder. He is going to stay there. Even if he drops out and comes back in, Dr. Elo will remain in this position, which is a lifesaver for production. Believe you me. So he is not Paul Burke. So we've got to change that. We're going to edit his name. All right. Now, this is the way I add my titles to my guests. However, Ecamm actually has a function for titling if you would like to use that. So let's look at what that might look like. So whether you do it through the ad hoc production style or you use something like this frame, and by the way, all the frames that you're seeing here today, we do actually sell so that you can get your own color variety, your own design that looks like your brand, but without the hassle of actually doing it. So link is in the description if you want some ease of use and help when it comes to graphics. So we're going to add Kathleen to the mix here. And of course, you can use this you can use the camera effects button to make sure that you're zooming and getting people set up into a nice little frame. But again, all of those best practices, link is in the description to that playlist where I help you get the better look and feel for your interviews. We're gonna keep moving through on this. So Ecamm allows you to use the titles that your guests have actually set when they join your production just by clicking this little text with a strike through it, and you're going to, voila, show your guest's name. So then we want to make sure that it's not lopsided. So Luria Petrucci. Now, you might want to make sure that your guests have first and last name or just first, whatever you want in your production. But this is a way that you don't have to add all of the fancy stuff and have text overlays. You can just toggle this on and off if you so choose. So that gives you some flexibility in going on the fly like this. Of course, you can edit. You just click the plus or the edit sign here, and you can edit all of the colors. Now, you'll notice that when I go to a different scene, those titles disappear. So you can set the titles to be on or off on each different scene. So if I have my side-by-side production here and I want Dr. Elo on, then it's actually going to pop up here. So of course you'll want to readjust those as necessary and set up your entire production in the flow that you want it to go. Now, with these titles, you can actually do the fixed position, but you can also have them fly in if you want to get all funky. So if I do this, then you'll notice the fly-in effect on both Kathleen and myself. Now, here's the tricky thing you need to be aware of. If you're going to use comments, then the titles and comments don't necessarily work together unless you consider the position. So you can't really move the titles themselves. Those are in a position that is set, but you can move the comments. However, in a lot of situations, it's going to look a little funky. So you may choose to not have comments on the same scene as titles going out. Or you can just do what I do and make sure that you're using the text overlays with your scenes so that you can push out a comment. Now let's talk audio. So you have full control over the guest's audio individually in the interview window. So I can mute and it tells me I've muted the guest, so that's very obvious. I can unmute them and I can adjust their volume. So if one person is coming in much louder than the rest, you can adjust their volume individually. Now, whatever you set in the interview window will reflect through this control in your sound levels window. So you have one control that is a master for all of the interviews coming in. So you definitely need to control it over here individually and then adjust the master volume here. And of course, from scene to scene, you can mute the entire interview system so that none of the audio is coming in from the guests. And I often do that when I'm introing the show, right? I don't want the guests who are in the background like fiddling with their phones. Oh, I forgot to turn my volume off. I'm going to mute that, like a dog barks or whatever. So when I'm doing the intro to the show, I always have that scene muted for the guests. And then my next scene, when I bring them in, has it unmuted, right? So again, a lot more control, gives you more capability to have a fully professional live stream or recorded interview. Time to stop working. That's my stop work. All right, so then as your interview is over, or if somebody does just drop out, then let's see what that looks like. Bye, guys. Get out of here.
Bye.
So these go into placeholders and the blank placeholders, because I have set those placeholders, right? So of course, then I just want to pop over to my main camera. So a guest can actually share their screen, and this is what it looks like from the interview window. So you've got the guest and you have the screen share itself. So I could make the screen share full screen, or I can even use a little pip and get David in here with a pip. So if I want to put him over here, I can change his configuration, and I'm going to keep it in the round, and I can make it small or big. And so if he's doing a little demo and he's talking through something, then we can see both him and that. And if a guest is going to screen share throughout the entire stream or recording, then it might be beneficial for you to assign it alone a placeholder. So guest 2 becomes David Foster's screen, and guest 1 is, of course, David. Well, my phone may tell me it's time to stop working, but I am not done just yet. Let's talk pricing. Who gets access to this? How much does it cost? So if you are on a standard Ecamm plan, then you get a 2-hour trial for this. After that, Pro is required to use Ecamm Interview. And that is because it costs the developers money to run interview. So don't get upset, because it makes it so much easier to run a smooth interview production using this. So it's well worth going to Pro for this. And with Pro, you get 20 hours included on a monthly basis. If you're on the annual plan, you get 240 hours. Now, you can buy extra hours or additional time for $14.99 for 20 additional hours. And you'll see how much time you have remaining with this notification at the top of your interview window. And if you want to add time, you can click the little arrow button and it will give you the details and then the option to add time. And if you're wondering about rollover time, if you're on the monthly or annual plan, the included hours, those 20 hours a month, do not roll over. So you'll use what you use in that month. But if you do buy additional time, that is forever time. So you're good to go there. You're not going to spend money and not use that time. If you want a trial of Ecamm so that you can start looking at how easy this is to use and get those 2 hours of trial time, you can use my link in the description. And we also have an entire free training series for you to get you up and running. I did not cover any of the Ecamm setup, just interview in this setup. Now, I have a ton of other videos around Ecamm Live and how you can get the most out of it, the interview feature itself, as well as general best practices for interviews. So go check this playlist out. And my phone told me that it was time to stop working, so I'm going to listen to it. I will see you in the next video.